might not look too beautiful, but this is the Wall Street of my garden. It is my investment bank. It is my compost area. Not pretty, but extremely functional and really, really important to organic gardening, and especially to no-dig gardening. And this time of year, it's now the beginning of November, I'm doing garden cleanup. Now is when you've got everything you need. You've got things from the garden, you've got greens, you've got access to leaves and dry things. Now, I want to show you a couple of things. I have a whole compost playlist that you might want to check out. And in that compost playlist is the playlist I made about building a compost heap using the skins and stems and seeds from wine pressing. As you may know, we have a winery located here on our property. And so I used some of the press this year, the leftover skins, and like I did last year, made compost. And I want to show you, I want to give you an update to that one, and then we're gonna work with this hay back here and this knife and this pile of stuff behind me from my garden and continue to build on the new piles. And I'll just show you how easy it is. But as I said, it's like my investment bank, my compost heap. Ain't it gorgeous? You don't need to have something expensive. You don't need to go out and buy something fancy. Honestly, do I have trouble with animals coming in here? I'll see birds in here and maybe a squirrel pulling something out. But I have never had any serious problem. The only serious problem I had was when one year when some yellow jackets decided it was a nice place to build their nest. And that wasn't so great. But you know what? A bear came along and dug out that nest and ate it all up. So not the compost, the yellow jacket nest. All right, let's take a look at the compost that we made back in September during from the grape press and see how it's doing. As you know, compost goes through very hot phases if you build it correctly, and that is great for killing off seeds and weeds, and then it cools down. And I want to show you that this compost pile, even though I made it back and it was piled all the way up to the top of these pallets, and even more so. And now it is definitely halfway down. However, if you look at the temperature, it is still right at the border of between the highly active phase and the hot phase. It is today at 1:30, and that is pretty amazing from a pile that is this old. So it is still actively composting. What will it turn into? Well, this is the finished pile that I used and have been using from last year's grape press, and I started using it this summer. Take a look. Perfect, gorgeous compost. You can still see the remnants of the seeds, but that's okay. That's just organic matter that will be in the soil. Really nice stuff. Okay, now, what do we have here? We have a big pile of hay. You can use straw, you can use hay, you can use leftover shredded paper. You just need what they call browns, and browns are carbon rich. This is carbon rich stuff. And you need greens, and you can see in this pile, I've been adding a lot of greens in here. This is from the garden cleanup that I started yesterday. And this pile is from garden cleanup from today. And I'm just gonna continue to pile up. So these are just made from pallets, kind of tied together on the ends with a removable front. And this is just made from fencing. It should be a little bit wider, but this is the fencing that I had, and I have successfully made compost in here before. So you can see that there's some layers in here of the straw and earlier layers here that started, and then the greens. This is all that bean tunnel and green beans or lima beans. Another thing you need to do to make your compost really start heating up is wet it down. And I think one of the best ways to build compost is you can just dump stuff in. And honestly, in the summertime, we don't have many browns around. We just dump things in. And that's kind of a cold pile, and it rolls along. But then this time of year, when I have access to greens and I've got a lot of material, I can literally just layer in browns and greens, mix it up, pour some water, hose it down, and that's going to get that process going, and it'll start going pretty quickly. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to water these 2 piles here. Notice here I've got some old eggplants, and what I'm just going to do is cut them in half just to kind of expose more of the surface space. They're already starting to rot down, and I'll throw them in. Next, we're just going to add some of our green material and some of our hay and wet it down and keep layering up. Some of this is dry already. Yeah, definitely want to pull out things that are not going to compost, like this knee-high. This is what I use to tie up my vines. I'll take this in and wash it for next season. So that's what you have to do. Now I have a lot more garden cleanup to do. So I'm actually going to have to create another compost pile, which is just fine with me. Now, how long will this compost take? I think it's going to take at least, it may be ready to use by sometime next summer. It all just depends on how fast it gets going. I am only so strong and I only have so much time. And I don't turn my compost. I know there's a whole lot of stuff out there about how to make compost. And, you know, when it actually kept me from starting to make compost because I was so intimidated. You know, you got to get the temperature up to this temp for this long to be able to have good compost and blah, 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 blah. You got to turn it constantly. And, you know, if I had the strength to turn these compost piles, I would do it. I don't want to press my dear husband into service all the time, and Sage has sometimes turned it, but, you know, generally just letting it sit is just going to do it. It's just going to take longer, but you'll get good compost. So don't let all of those videos out there about perfect compost and doing this and doing that. Don't let it intimidate you. Learn the basics, learn the concept of adding the browns to the greens. And, you know, if in a perfect world, I would cut up some of these bigger things, but I find that I get compost. So welcome to my stock market. Welcome to my investment bank. I hope you're doing well. It's good to get going on my garden cleanup, but I got a lot more to do, and I'll continue posting what I'm doing, how I'm doing it. I'm also going to be planting garlic this week and probably some Egyptian walking onions and some multiplier onions. So you might want to look out for those videos. I'll be putting those up, well, as I do them and as I have time. This is a hobby garden, not a professional enterprise. What shall I do?